Hey everyone, welcome to POPXP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the POPXP channel. Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe here now, Scala, with the teen sensation himself, Mr. Billy Tucci. What's up, brother? Oh, where's the gong, man? And the noise.
The gong right there, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Lame. Sorry. We're wacky.
We're wacky here, huh?
Doing great, man. Doing great. I'm so excited for this next great turn for the POPXP. We just seem to keep growing and getting more eclectic, covering all.
You think it's eclectic? You think we're getting eclectic here? I don't know if that's the word. I don't think.
Man. We're like the one-stop shopping center of all the great creatives in comics. I love this.
It's like we're able to bring all this stuff right into fans' homes, just right there, whenever they want. It's like a network, one would say.
We hit the jackpot with the of comics historians this time. I'll tell you that, pal.
Oh my gosh!
I know.
True fans, right? Just coming in like right out of the gates. I mean, it's what they do for a living. How incredible is that?
Yep.
I'm pretty pumped about this, man. This was definitely kind of a spur of the moment thing that happened. You know, just a couple creators reaching out to one another and something blossomed. I think this is going to be great to bring on. And we actually had these gentlemen on back in January to promote their YouTube channel, which is now going to be coming over to the POPXP. We'll be hosting it for them, but it's going to be the same content, the same thing that they're doing on their channel. So without further ado, everyone, I want to welcome Steve Houston and John Cimino back to the POPXP. Hey, what's going on, fellas?
Hey.
Welcome.
Real glad to see you guys again.
Yes.
Glad to have you guys. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Oh, you guys are back. You ready to do this?
Yeah, let's do this. This is awesome. Absolutely. I love this. I love that, you know, because, well, I'm not a historian in any stretch of imagination. You are. You're a big fan. Scala, you know your stuff, but not like these gentlemen right here.
No, not like these gentlemen. No,
this is pretty fucking awesome.
But you'll learn. We'll learn, man. We're gonna learn. Hey, everyone in the chat, great to see you. The Beam Pad, Christopher, how you doing? Ara, James, good to see everyone starting to come in. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about this. So, you know, fun story. You know, John reached out to me. You know, just trying to work on the channel and stuff. And pretty much, we just came to the point of, you know, well, we're already doing this stuff on here. So why don't you guys head on over to POPXP and we'll combine forces and bring incredible content to the fans.
The original plan, Nile, was to get somebody like you. Like we were talking, and I was like, I need somebody like you because Otto, our third wheel, he was always a temporary measure. He was just helping us out. But poor me and Steve, as little as I know about the technical aspect of this, Steve, he's more Ulick. He's more Ulick. He's more of a rock troll. He's worse than me. But so talking to you, we were like, you know, I need to get somebody like you. And then Nile starts. We're chatting back and forth, and Nile's like, why don't you just come with us? And I was like, I wasn't like, I was like, yeah, and it kind of just went from there. I told Steve will follow me into the abyss. He doesn't really ask many questions. He puts on his Ulick pounders and he's just like, let's go.
Well said. I was waiting for you to say about the pounders because that's crucial.
Well,
I'm
glad.
I sent a text. I'm like,
I
was like, you know, just some food for thought. I was like, you know, the channel's pretty well established now. We've got, you know, like almost 4,000 viewers. Why don't you guys pop on here? You know, and then I end it with like, but I don't care anyways. But, you know, we'll do whatever you guys want. But yeah, no, this is going to be cool. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, I love the idea of having a real show to talk about comics, the history of comics collecting, and to be on with you guys is this is, you know, purely selfish reasons. It's a real it's something I'm really interested in. You know, because I have questions, especially like what you just worked on, John, about you know, the Stan story thing. I don't want to give away I don't know if you could talk about it or whatever, but I found that really interesting, our conversation, the pre-show, you know?
Yeah, I write for Alter Ego, Retrofan, Back Issue Magazine, and the Jack Kirby Collector, so I got to know my stuff. But what I like to tell people what the show is about and why this is so awesome is that me and Steve, when we used to do stuff with Torpedo Comics with Roy Thomas and stuff, that like me and Steve would just be talking about all this stuff, and we'll be talking about Roy with Roy right there, not ignoring Roy and telling him what he's done and what he should have done. It's like, and we go on and on and on. So finally, I was texting Steve, and I would just always we would send each other these little things about superheroes or whatever all through the days. And I said, why don't we do a podcast? And Steve's just like, yeah, why not? And we both have this passion. We seem to have a lot of parallels in life. Like when he was growing up in South Africa, and I was over here in Dorchester, Boston, and we were reading and getting into the exact same comics. It's uncanny. So if anybody wants to look at our backlog, which will be on the POPXP, our last 18 episodes, you can see the dynamic. Me and Steve are discovering ourselves with each other, as well as our fanboyisms. Like there are no levels. And just this one more thing before I let Steve takes over, where I'm this writer and I'm this manager and agent, Steve over here is the guy who knows the comic books, the values. He's an Overstreet advisor, and if anybody has watched Pawn Stars, he's the big guy they call in when they need comic book values. So Steve, tell them what's up.
Well, yeah, as I said, it's definitely been a fascinating experience. Of course, what John didn't say was that he's basically like a spoiled brat. He had everything. He had access to all of these books. He was in America, going by newsstands, and I was a starving, person in England that was like, oh, there's one comic per year coming in. Oh, I'll read that comic for a year. So, even as a kid, I knew I had to get over to the States. I knew that was the place to be. And just hearing some stuff from John, and the sheer amount of books that he managed to accumulate, it's totally amazing. The other thing that is really amazing is how we have these certain issues that we read that became like very important to us. And there I am thinking, oh, this is only special to me. Oh, this story is only special to me. No one else is reading this book. I don't know why I thought like that. But that's the way I thought. And over the course of these 18 episodes that we've recorded for our podcast, there's always been a moment where I've been like, are you kidding me? You read that same issue at the same time and came to the same conclusions?
Yeah.
So it's definitely been an eye-opening experience. We do come from two different viewpoints, but then we always end up basically at the same. There's a couple of little tangents. Of course, no one's going to be exactly the same, but it has definitely been a fun experience to speak to someone. I mean, I knew as soon as I started speaking with John at one of the dinners, we were just like, bang. It was like, you remember this? You remember that? You remember that? And then everyone else was trying to like break into the conversation. Like, dude, hold on a second.
They're like, I like Spider-Man too.
Now you talk about a dinner. Now, are you at a convention? Did you guys meet at a convention first, or like where did you have dinner?
We did things. No, we were doing things at Torpedo. Like I would bring Roy to them. But I think the thing that really got me and Steve was when I saw he showed me his Hulk tattoo, and I was like, that's the dream sequence from The Incredible. And he knew, he's like, for the Salvo Sema, and he was like, oh my God, you know that. I mean, it's gotten so freaky that the very first X-Men comic I picked up, issue 183, was the very first comic he picked up. So like, because we weren't that big into the X-Men, but it's pretty wacky. But that's why I love this big guy. And I just found, this was another thing that we just have. Steve, remember the pictures I sent you? I see a picture of his past of Steve wearing this Hulk shirt. I looked in probably the same time frame. That was like maybe the later 90s or something.
Yes, 1995.
Yes! Oh my God! I was wearing the exact same Hulk shirt, and I sent him the photo. I was like, "This is so bizarre."
This is like a speed dating success story, if I ever heard one.
This is a bigger bromance than we have.
I know.
I don't have that bromance like that.
We send pictures, but not that often. I mean,
and one of our funny things is we did our top 5 superheroes of all time. And what Steve? We were I think 3 or 4 of the 5 were right, and our last 2 were exactly the same, but our 3 or 4 are the same ones. So
All right, well, who are the top 5 superheroes of all time?
who
Who
In
are
your
top
opinion.
5 superheroes of all time?
yeah, well, for me personally.
Yeah, for the both of you guys.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. You want me to tell you? Okay.
I want you to tell me right
people
now.
could. Well, my number 5. Well, my number. Okay, let me see if I remember. Number 5 was Roger T. Race Bannon from Johnny Quest. I love that freaking guy because he was a real
Doesn't count.
man
Yeah.
during the 60s. He with the white hair. He was just a manly man who killed on that cartoon many times. Literally popped people off to protect Haji and Johnny Quest and Bandit. There was nothing like him.
scuba guys.
Oh God! Oh, you know that was incredible.
Yeah.
Then, oh my God, let me think. Number 4. Well, number 3 was Captain Marvel Shazam. I like the Golden Age one. Number 2 was Thor, and number 1 was the Hulk. Oh, excuse me. And number 4 was I think Spider-Man. So in that, but number 2 and number 1 was the Hulk, which me and Steve could agree on. But yeah, Roger T. Race Bannon. Steve, what was yours?
It's been so long I can't even remember what I did anymore. But I do know that I think my number 1 was Thor, and my number 2 was Hulk.
Yeah, we were like something. Like
we sort of switched it around a little bit, and then of course I did have something that shocked you, because remember I had a Quasar in there.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was your number 5.
Yes, I had Quasar and Nova. Because I do tend to lean more toward the cosmic aspect of it, and Nova is the biggest surprise of all, because when these days, you can't pay me to read a book about a teenager. But so that's sort of shocking to people when they see it. And of course, Spider-Man was not on my list because I like his rogues gallery. I don't actually like Spider-Man that much. But yeah, and the funny thing is, I do have the tattoo of the Hulk on my arm. That was my original guy. But within 2 years after I discovered Thor, I was like, oh my word, this is incredible. Talk about a rogues gallery. Talk about a supporting cast. And, I can't wait for our show there with Tom DeFalco and Ron Franks, because we're really going to get into the meat and bones of what I consider real Thor stories.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let me just say really quick, if anybody doesn't know what the Steve and Cimino Says Boom show is now all about, it's what we do is we usually take a comic from our past and we break down it issue page by page, and we talk about everything we love and why we loved it, what was going on at the time. We also showcase a classic hero that we like, that we did it on Nova and a few other characters, and then we'll have special guests, and we're talking top of the line people. We obviously Roy Thomas, who I manage and is my best friend. He's more of our mascot. He'll be on. He'll be on more than just one. You'll see him more than ever, and he loves it. We've had Steve Englehart. We've had Jerry Conway. We've also had an exclusive with John Bowler, Jack. If anybody knows him, he was the guy behind Stan Lee during all that stuff and saving Stan Lee from all that stuff that was going on in his life. Last 6 months, it was him and Stan forever. That guy has been a chore, getting actually what was going on behind the scenes of all that stuff. And we got our episode coming up. We got Tom DeFalco and Ron Friends, and then that's coming up on next Wednesday. And then I got a whole bunch more of these super guys coming on. And Billy Tucci, the teen sensation. We want you. And
absolutely. I gotta ask you something, because you guys know so much. And I know I thought that was so interesting that you did talking about the top 5, superheroes and all. I love the idea, and I think, I know what your schedule is if you guys would consider this. But why don't we do crazy shows like the top 5 or top 10 Mego action figures, superhero action figures, right? Which ones were our favorite? Which ones sucked? Which ones you remember, You get some cool ones, but what's up with the gloves? But they were like mittens.
Let them get settled in first, Billy. Come on, let them get their shoes under the bed first.
No, I know, but I'm just thinking for the future. I just think we can have so much fun.
Oh
doing
shoot,
this.
guys, we got to start over. Hi, chat from Vegas. Sorry, I'm late. Can you start over? All right, let's cut to the intro.
Yeah.
Well, good idea,
again, when it comes to these top 10s and stuff like that, you have to remember that in England, these Mego toys were like the equivalents of holy grails. That was never going to be seen, ever. You may see a picture of it in some, lucky American kid's hands. But over in England, while we were playing with coal outside in the rain, okay, some kids like, I'm playing with my G.I. Joe aircraft carrier. What are you playing with, Steve? And I'm like, well, I found these 2 old marbles that my granddad had and played during the First World War.
Mr. Coley, Sergeant Cole.
So what we do on our podcast is we keep it like from the fanboy perspective, and then when we interview these big guys, we don't ask them the questions that everybody asks them. Plus, I know a bunch of them personally, but we ask them how they got into it, what did they fanboy out of, and stories they wouldn't talk about. Like when we were talking about Englehart and how he got into the business and the things that he loved, and like it's just, I love to see that side of him. Because we're fanboys, we drool over them, but I want to know what they drooled over. And with Roy Thomas, you just got books and books and books of stuff, because that guy is one of us. 82 years old, and he's so filled with the power cosmic that like he loves doing that, and that's what they enjoy. And so, hey, every single creator we had on told me they want to come back, so we know they're having a good time with us. Yeah. Not the cookie cutter question.
And what I find is like all of us who are actively making a living making comics for the most part, maybe some of these new people, they've admitted they're not. We were all fans first. We got into this because we were fans and we love this. And this is what we wanted to do. We weren't someone who's, who writes on Discord and stuff like that or whatever and wants to make a movie. And this is the easiest way to make a movie or something. That's why they're, writing for Marvel or DC now or something like that. We're from the fan perspective because we love this. This is our whole lives. Here we are, us in the East Coast, it's 9:00 at night. We're still doing this. And we've been talking about this all day. And it's great because it's inspiring,
Oh, I'll tell you really quick. Just last week on Free Comic Day, we went to Mile High Comics, me and Roy. And then after they took us to Doctor Strange 2. But what is so cool about that is Roy is whispering in my ear all these little things that are happening. And he talks about Stan didn't like that when we did that, or I took that and I told him no, that is the stuff. That is the essence of what we do. I want to know like the color socks they put on. When you stand with Roy, when you thought this or that, what were you doing? Were you cooking ramen noodles? How cool. 77A Bleecker Street. It's Roy, Gary Friedrich, and Bill Everett is crashing on his couch with beer cans everywhere. That's what I want to know. It's just like, did you ever have late night talks? And it's just the lives these guys lived and the worlds that they created changed my life and made me want to do something better in life. I live this incredible life where I can make a good living from it. So this is a way to give back. And, being with Steve and seeing Steve at this stuff, it's just, he loves it just like me. And it's incredible. And I love that. It's the joy of.
Yeah, and there are so many of those great stories. Like how did, how Man-Thing and Swamp Thing, how they came about at the same freaking time.
Yeah.
And it's, like how, what were you thinking with that? And what were you thinking with this? And I just love this. There's so much we can unlock about the history of this our beloved industry, of our lives.
Well, what I think
is that, and I specifically use our podcast as a chance to get firsthand information from people who were there.
Yep.
So I remember I used to read the Comics Journal, those interviews, which used to be so hardcore. It would go on for like 8 pages. You would know everything. Mm-hmm. But we've got examples this last couple of weeks of creators passing away, you know, Neil Adams and George Perez.
Yeah.
And each creator is an extremely precious individual. They have firsthand knowledge. So I love to get in there, speak to them, ask questions that I've been percolating for years that I think other people want to know that I haven't seen in an interview. Because if you remember back in the old days, you know, we used to have the Wizard magazine and it was like, yeah, what video game are you playing, dude? I don't want to know that. Okay. I don't want to know that. Okay. And I'll be like, well,
comic scene,
you know, yes, comic scene, all that stuff.
I have that one.
Yeah, we all have those. It's all great stuff.
Sketch is back.
You know what was a really good one? If you guys ever read, was it Comics Value Monthly? Was a really good.
I remember those. Yeah,
magazine.
I remember those. Yes.
A lot of great interviews and stuff like that. That they had Steve and Neil Hansen. They had that was very engaging. It was almost like a more mainstream comics journal, if you will. You know, the comics journal would go deep. You know, talking to the Hernandez brothers and stuff like that. But they also dealt with, like I said, they'd interview George for a good 6-page interview, and it wasn't asking what his favorite, you know, video game is or anything like that. You know.
Yes, and as I said, we have opportunities. You know, a lot of the creators that obviously that you know we grew up with and we love, they're getting on. They're getting to a point where it's like, okay, did anyone ask them this question? And then if that person passes away, it's like, oh, why not? And when we had Bolajak on, I was hammering away with how frustrated I was that Stan Lee was being shuttled from show to show to show, signing. And no one was ever asking him, saying, okay, Stan, can you quantify something? Can you let us know what happened at this point in time? Because people have been asking for a long time, okay?
Yeah.
Like, someone didn't sit down with a recorder and say, all right, what happened between you and Steve Ditko? Give us the details. That is firsthand gold information, but no one in his team or anyone around him, the manager, they just went, how much money can we get out of this guy going from show to show to show?
Yeah.
So,
and the thing is that the worst thing Stan could say is, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to talk about that. If he didn't about with Ditko. But also I remember, and now tell me if I'm wrong, it was a video, John, maybe, and he was just signing Stan and he was doing, you know, S, and he's like, TAN Stan. And then Stan had
I know
like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, I know exactly what a lot of people don't know this, but I'm going to throw it out there that Roy was advocating to Stan for me to step in there to take over. Like when things started going away, Roy was advocating for me, but the state stepped in and everything, and then they pushed. Stan didn't have to do it anymore, and that was fine. But like I said, oh my God, it would have been a dream. And the things I had, because Roy, that's his guy. And Roy loved him so much that like, I would have done anything to try to, protect him and then have them together again. And well, that actually happened, and that's another thing that John was part of that. But like, John opened up my eyes in that interview, about Stan, and saying that how Stan lived a full life and he was happy to go. And I saw a side because only John knew this information, and he got to say it. And it was so wonderful and refreshing because, yes, I know what you're talking about, Billy. That time, that was in Anaheim, California. But that incident right there, which was, ugh. But
it's just
it was just good to know that Stan was, in the last moments of his life, he was in a good place. And, bringing Roy there right before he died was something that I know Stan wanted so bad. And John was the catalyst to help me do that, because there were a lot of bad people in this life. And that's where the fun of comics goes away, when all that money and all that ego, and as, me being where I am today, I deal with a lot of those people, and you see it. And I still have never lost that love of the comics. That's why I love doing this. And I love protecting Roy. And I love another thing that me and Steve do on this podcast, our podcast, is we celebrate them. We tell them how much they mean, because that was a cutthroat industry. And a lot of them were like abused children. Case in point, let me just say something really quick. Back in 2000, Steve, I never told you this, but back in 2008, I went to Boston Comic Con, and I Herb Trimpe was there, and he was with his wife, and I was talking to her. Nobody was really around him and all that stuff. He didn't get a little more popular to a little later. But I was asking him. I was asking him about his drawings, and there was an old Hulk toy, a hand glider thing, and it had his. Remember that famous Hulk? The Hulk's running with his hand out like that. And
Yes.
I asked him about that. I go, how did you feel when you saw all these Hulk images, all your Hulk images on all these products? And he looked at it and he was like, I never knew that was even on there. He goes, I never knew that.
Wow.
And I was like, that image is just everywhere. And he never knew. He said he never knew, and he never got it compensated for that stuff or anything.
They never did, right?
Excuse me?
They never did get compensated.
No, yeah, but the fact that he never even knew, like that was on anything, it was so mind-boggling to me, because those toys are what I saw before I got into the comics.
Yeah.
Because those images are so ingrained in me. But he was so miffed that he could not believe it was on the package, and it blew my mind. I said, nah. I'm not going to let that. We're going to tell these people how awesome they are and how they affected our lives and why we do what we do. Right, Steve?
Yes. I'm not good. When
Matthew Moulton, thanks for the $4.99 super chat.
when I met
have a
Herb
question in
Trimpe,
there though.
they'd come to town to do a signing at another store and also watch the second Wolverine movie. So we were in line, and there was 25 people in line, and 24 of them had Hulk, 181. And then one person had a Hulk 169. So he's going up, and he's signing these 181s, and the guys are just, what they're going to do is they're going to, CGC it, flip it, and say, I made some money. So I plonked down the 169. I said, you are not signing a Hulk 181 for me. Because I said, I have been waiting 30 years for you to sign this By Beast cover for me, because I love the By Beast. And he was like, wow. He goes, I remember this. And he was explaining, and he was talking to me for a little bit of a long time. And behind me, I kept hearing,
oh, geez.
So I just sort of turned around and went, I don't want to have to crush you, but let's just have some quiet right now. And I had some photographs taken, but for me, he was. I mean, I never thought I was going to meet Herb Trimpe. Are you kidding me? I read those books for years and years and years, and there I am speaking with them, and I'm able to express myself, how much they meant to me and how much I think they meant to everyone else. And he was like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. That's what I love doing, is just reminding, because sometimes these creators, they get a little bit down on themselves, they're a little bit, harsh, and like, well, I guess I just did my job.
Mm-hmm.
No. Let me explain what this means, what it meant to me and meant to others. So that's my Herb Trimpe story. And that's also, one of the reasons why when we do get guests on our show, I love to ask questions that get right in there, maybe some stuff that they don't want to talk about, or they've been hiding a little bit. There's definitely some stuff that I want to speak about Steve Englehart and Jerry Conway about. There's some stuff that happened, and it needs to come out. It needs to come out before someone passes away and someone makes up a story. And that, I think, is our mission here on our podcast, to bring something to light and let everyone go, oh, wow, is that how it really happened? And we have an opportunity here to get in there, get in the weeds, and have them express and tell first-hand accounts.
Yeah. And Billy, I just want to throw it out to you. You are somebody that, I told you this years ago, I have no understanding why she is not a major motion picture and not the top of because I'll tell you, that has a cult following, but that has everything that is needed today to make a good movie. And it wasn't part of the processed stuff that, the things that they're doing today with all the women beating up. No. She was created to be a strong thing when it wasn't supposed to be propaganda or anything. And it has so much, there's so much there. I always told
and
you.
like I said, it wasn't. We don't bastardize the culture. We don't. Again, we're not placating, looking for an audience. She doesn't win all the, when she does battle and stuff. I mean, she's basically a soldier drafted into a war that she's not prepared to fight for. But no, we've had film deals. We're talking to someone right now, to a great company right now, and we had actually Debbie and I had a really encouraging Skype yesterday with them, or Zoom, yesterday afternoon for over an hour. So things are looking really great. People are recognizing it. I think the successes of the Kickstarters and Indiegogos that we've been doing. I mean, look, you look in the past 3 years, we've grossed, or 2.5 years, right, Scott? We've grossed over $1 million.
Yeah. In
crowdfunding, so people are talking about it, and it's so shocking to us is that people came back because she's been she's a 3-time Eisner loser, but you don't know if people remember a comeback, but they do, and it's tremendous, and you see a lot of that with us, so that we came out of nowhere. We were I like to akin us to Outlaws, Brian Polito with Chaos Comics, Jeff Smith with Cartoon Books, Terry Moore with Abstract Studios. We came out of nowhere. Seemingly overnight successes, though, that we've been, we were starving for 3 years trying to get this right. But we put together, truly, really professional books that could go head to head with any book that Marvel and DC were doing, or any of the major companies were doing. And the characters had heart, and it was all very personal. And I think, and we, like I said, we did not bastardize the culture, or we were very transparent in our love of this craft and this industry.
But fans. Billy, do you know what she has that nobody else has that you haven't talked about yet? You know what she has?
What?
She has you, and you have a personality, and people like you and they gravitate to you. So you have, to a lesser extent, a little Roy Thomas and Stan Lee like energy about you that people like you, so they'll go to she. And you can sell she based on you, because you have that likable quality. You're not just this mean or gruff or quiet creator like a lot of these guys are. You're a different type of dude. You're like a Ted Nugent of the comic world. You hunt, you kill, you skin, you survive.
Well, you know what? There's guys, I'm telling you, there's creators that are born a different way. And Billy, Polito, Jeff Smith, look at this, right? They did their own thing. Boom, they blew up. They started doing mainstream stuff and whatnot. Then they kind of just like, I want to do my own thing again. And what happened? Success recreated, right? Look at Polito. Look at Jeff Smith. Look at Billy. Just kind of picked up where they left off.
6 years, I think he's been
doing Empire
exclusively. He's grossed over $6 million.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jeff Smith just did his one with Tucci. His first Kickstarter, 30-day campaign. What did he do now? $267,000.
Wow. He did everything combined. He did his first campaign. Everything combined, I think, was over 300. If you combine the Indiegogo.
And why is that? Because they're leaving those big two in droves, and they want something fun again. They want something with substance, which we try to base our podcast on. Something fun. We want to have the fanboys. If we go to these comics when you love them, we don't care about the shit today.
Well, there's no you guys talk about breaking down panels and all, and there is no, that I have seen in the past 5 years, maybe there is no panel of can an android cry?
Oh God!
There is
5 years.
Yeah,
I don't know. I could go 20, 30 years.
But there isn't any that that like I said in this monster story, that last panel. You know what I mean? Of the thing, let's just call it that. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it, because we have new fans here. And as he's going away, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And you don't know where it's like. They're like, oh my God, I got to read this all over again.
What about Amazing Spider-Man 50? When he comes back and you'll when Peter Parker comes, God.
Well, that's also some of the. This is a good subject, because we put this up on our podcast before. When we don't know how this modern generation in about 20 years are going to talk about the stuff that they're reading now, how how are they going to talk about it? Are they going to do it the same way that we do? I have a funny feeling that it's no. I have a funny feeling that the main conversation will be, wow, I picked up a 9.6 raw,
variant cover,
and then I pressed it and graded it and I flicked it. Wow, that was great. That's going to be the essence of the conversation. But are they really going to talk about the origin of silk? Are they really going to say, I really love that appearance where Squirrel Girl defeated Thanos? Are they really going to be talking about that? Whereas with us, and especially John's I thought I was a Hulk fanatic, but John goes to another level, and when he, you get him talking about the Hulk fighting the Thing, or, then he loses his mind. He can go through panel by panel. And I think that's something that a younger generation that we have today, they don't look at it in those terms. It's just very strange. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they care that, a lot of them openly admit that they don't like comics and they want to change comics. I'm talking about these people that come in and are writing them now. They don't care for the canon. They don't remember the time where you're reading an issue and you don't know how the hell Peter Parker is going to get out of this. You know what I mean? How are they going to write their way out of this one? This is phenomenal.
Why do you think
that tension, if you will?
Why do you think me and Steve love Roy and Steve Englehart and all those guys? Because they loved continuity. They respected that, and they always brought it to the fore. Conway, all those, Len Wein, all those guys kept it going, and that's what we love, because you loved reading those issues, as Steve said. And when we were young, you just got issues sporadically, and then something happened in an issue you saw, you were like, I gotta get that issue to figure out why that happened here. You don't get that anymore. Nobody cares.
Well, I think obviously, of course, and it also goes down to, and I'm hoping and praying that at some point on our podcast we can get Jim Shooter, who was, talk about someone that grabbed that company by the scruff of the neck and said, okay, we're not going to, you're not going to do reprints anymore. Okay. We're going to be on time. We're going to be on schedule, and then with a creator would come in and say, I have a funny idea. Why don't we have like Captain America wear pink socks? And then Jim Shooter would be like, what did you just say? Yeah. Come into my office. Okay, we're going to talk about, you're going to read this, this, and this, and you're going to report back to me. And so you know your stuff, okay? With someone like that guiding, with people like Mark Grunwald, who knew their stuff back and front. So if you did a story and someone's like, and Daredevil's super strength is working very well. What just happened there?
Yeah.
What did you just say? Well, I just thought it'd be cool if if he was as strong as. That's not Daredevil. No. Okay, I'm the editor. You're gonna come in here. You're gonna rewrite it. Okay, you're gonna rewrite it and give it to me. When you have an editor doing that cares and knows, okay, it spreads through the entire universe and the entire amount of product. I think the real problem started at Marvel when certain superstars and creators were able to come to Marvel and then say, well, I have an idea. And the editor was like, well, I guess that's okay. And then we'd start getting strange stuff happening. And then what you did was you got a turnover in the fan base. Because the old school people like me and John would be like, what? Did that just really happen?
Well, a lot of the editors, but here's a thing too, is that they pay shit. They pay. Yeah. They're paying these editors living in New York City $40,000 a year, right? So, but these people don't know comics history. They don't know the history of these comics, and they don't care. So when someone comes with an idea, there is no that Jim Shooter like, well, wait a minute. We can't do this because of A, B, C. You know what I mean? There's none of that. They're almost like trafficking managers now, the editors. And they're letting these writers do because maybe they're afraid to say no or to put a kibosh on some dodo idea.
Oh,
right? I mean, they don't seem to know comics history. They don't seem to be a Roy Thomas. They don't. Yeah. Who's there? Ralph Macchio. You look at, let's name editors. Bob Harris. They're not there.
Yes. And I think, and this is something we're going to talk about in the podcast coming up with Tom Defalco, who, of course, not only was the writer, but editor-in-chief. And, he basically was in charge over an amazing period of growth at Marvel. The early, late 1980s, early 1990s, when they went through that massive explosion, Infinity Gauntlet, all this, the X-Men, everything was just, wow, it was exploding, and he was in control of all of that, and he doesn't get any credit for that, by the way. He gets no credit at all. Everyone's like, oh, who's that? Oh, is it the guy that wrote Thor? Don't you realize that he's the guy that was steering that ship? And then I remember as soon as he wasn't editor-in-chief anymore, there was a story in Thor that was written by Warren Ellis. And he basically just said, I don't like Thor, so I'm just going to write all this stuff. And, and I was reading it thinking, how did this get through editorial? What in the hell is going on here? Wow. That's the beginning of it. So I think with a lack of editorial strength and control, and as you said, Bill, knowledge. Yeah. Okay. If you don't have the knowledge and someone says, hey, I'm going to have Thor's hammer become, an actual entity, a female entity now. Doesn't that sound good to you? Okay. Now for me and John, that's like, that's the biggest pile of crap I've ever heard in my life. Right. And then, other people are like, wow, that's a really great idea. No. If that had been a really great idea, Stan and Jack would have thought of it that way. Right. Okay. So they're stretching the capabilities too far. And people like me and John, I don't know how far you read up, Bill and Nile. I don't know how long you went on, but they stretched it so far. But I find that when I speak to anyone of my generation, there's always a little tipping point. Okay. Yeah. For me personally, it was Original Sin. When Original Sin came out and they killed the Watcher and took his eye and made goodbye. I'm out, because the writer had no idea that the Watcher, Nick Fury just shot the Watcher in the eye.
Ugh.
You know what it is though too? It's like today's editors and today's artists and writers, you got this sense of entitlement. They come from a very pampered life, and they come and it's always like, I know better than these guys. That's why I can do it my way. And they don't see that they're on the bones and on the souls and on all those guys in the 30s and 40s that were in those sweatshops digging away, creating a world that we all needed. I needed it. Who knows where I'd be if I didn't have it. And they were getting paid nothing, but they gave their best, and they wanted to make the best thing they could make. And today, you got people like, I don't care about that. I'm doing it this way. They don't
care at all. Yeah. They don't care because they don't know the history. They don't have the respect.
What Bill said about people saying, this is my stepping stone. I'm going to work here at Marvel for a year, and I'm going to sell a property off to a movie, and then I can get away from this silly little comic business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, I don't want to get so dramatic here, but I look back when I think about these things. I think of like the Star Spangled Banner. And I know this sounds weird, but I get a little emotional when you think those guys were holding that flag up and the bombs were coming and all that. And if people died, other guys ran up and they held that flag. And the next day they saw masses of bodies there, but that flag still held high. That's what I talk about with the comics. I want to celebrate these guys because I want them holding their head up high. And I don't care, all these bombs can come my way. I will celebrate them because I love them. And those comics were not fake to me. They were real. They were my friends.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily attacking them, but they're showing them a great lack of respect. And saying like what was it, the Original Sin or something was, what was it, that all the Marvel characters were straight and white males that they created, the vast majority of them. Well, nothing. The vast majority of readers happen to be straight white male boys. Romance novels are, predominantly women. It's starring a woman. It's based on a, let's
market to your audience.
We need more men to read romance novels. So let's start doing, that.
Billy, I wouldn't tell you how many. Roy always says it the best. He says two quotes that I find incredible. Like one, every time he gets interviewed by all these media conglomerates, outlets, and all that stuff, they ask him about, how do you feel on this new guy because of gender change or race change? Roy always says the same thing, and I love it. Why don't they do that? Why don't they just create a new hero that has that? And he goes, you leave the other ones alone. He goes, that's the way it's supposed to be. And the other thing he says, it's the greatest quote of all time. Every generation gets the comics they deserve.
Oh, that's a great line.
That's a great
Roy
line.
said that, yeah, and even put it on a documentary. One of the greatest quotes. Every generation gets the comics they deserve.
Well, the funny thing is that
what's
Roy
really
asked
funny
that
about
question,
that.
and many others asked that question about why don't they just create new characters, and it's never answered. That question is never answered. And I think what we have to realize and what you guys are doing is that you know, people like me in my position as a comic creator, I know that I am standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm able to support my family for the past 28 years, you know, and make a living doing what I'm doing. The thing I also know is that, unlike some of the others, is that I do have this opportunity, and it's an honor to stand on the shoulders of these giants. I'll be damned if I'm going to piss on their head, like so many unfortunately are doing now. And it's insulting. And as someone who loves this craft, you know, you do take it personally.
But Billy, just really quickly, to answer that question you said, why don't they just create other characters? Because you want to know why? It won't work.
Yeah,
it won't be good. They have to sabotage the original characters because it already has that foundation. Because when they make those characters, they just sink. That's why. Because they're pretentious. They're not real. It's not natural. When Roy created Red Wolf, first Native American hero, and it was in a Native American guy made this book of the greatest Native American comic book, greatest American heroes ever. Red Wolf was number one. Number one. A Native American ranked it number one character ever made for the Native Americans. But Roy did that. William Talltrees, love that name. It was natural. It wasn't pretentious. It was a natural progression of making. Luke Cage, another one, a natural progression. Today, it's too pretentious. It's too fake. It's too cookie cutter.
Well, I would say it's more crafted, and I think it also goes into when someone comes to work for Marvel or DC now, they hold their own ideas inside until they can get a chance to do their own creative book, their own book, and their own character. So they're also getting pressure from upstairs. You know, it's like, well, look, we want to do this. We want to have a book, but we want to have guaranteed sales. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this character and then change that character around, you know, to modernize, but still going to have all the same power. So we're going to capture that audience, let it slide on through, keep all the same readers, but with a different character. That's the main problem. So you got a 1-2 punch. One, the modern creators have either technically you got to admit they're very smart. If they bring up or they're creating a brand new character, they're not going to do it for Marvel or DC. They will wait until they have an opportunity, do their own creator-controlled book, bring it out, make some money, because they know, you know, they are standing on the shoulders of people who were ripped off terribly. They had to, you know, do 4 books a month for 20 years because they weren't getting paid. Okay. Yeah. So I can understand that mentality, you know, and I think it's a 1-2 punch.
So you're saying in a sense that you're blaming, because there have been writers since the dawn of comics with lame brain, terrible ideas. But it's the management, the creative officers. They're the ones that dictate what the direction these characters, giving the okay.
Yes.
To these characters to do that. So it's not even, you know, you could blame the writer or this person's being hired for who they are rather than what they can do. But again, we all have crazy ideas. Why not try to push the envelope to do something weird, you know? Normally, like a shooter would shoot that down. Yeah, that's ridiculous. You're not going to give, you know, let's not give Captain America pink socks over his head sticking out, you know?
Yeah, and Thor's hammer is not going to be a woman.
But now, though, the management and the editor is like, yeah, let's do that. So it's really their fault that, you know, and
well,
you know,
it's their fault. Honestly, it's just unfortunately too. And I've said this before. Politics are in everything. There's so much more going on in this world that everything now has to follow in these guidelines, or they don't let it out. They don't let new shows premiere. That certain movies aren't going to happen. Certain books aren't going to happen if it doesn't check off certain lists. And I hate when people say, "Oh, it's not," but it is. It's blatantly there. And with the new comics and stuff, it's just, you know what does stink is like there are good comics out there. there are good comics out there that are still being made by some creators, you know, that are in my age, you know, in my generation, that do respect what they're doing, but they're not getting the jobs at DC or Marvel or this and that are going to the people that really aren't comics fans. But there are some out there.
Oh, definitely. And I think one of the best examples for a superhero book that has broken all sorts of new ground and brought in a whole new generation of people is Invincible.
Yeah.
Well, that book there, I mean, I know some younger readers who cannot read the older material. They cannot do it. And then I gave someone a copy, like their little omnibus of Invincible, and this kid was just, he was like, this is what I've been waiting for. And I could see this fire in their eyes. And I was like, wow, look at this kid go. He's devouring this story and these characters. And of course, you know, Kirkman has complete and utter control. He is the editor, and no one can come in and tell him, well, why don't you start doing this? I think we've looked at the numbers. No, he forges ahead. He gets his stuff done. And I think when it comes to superhero comics of this era in right now, Invincible is the cutting edge leading book for superheroes.
Mm-hmm. No, I think I agree with you 100% on that. And I'll be honest, that's why, you know, and the more I think about it and what we're doing, you know, because for over 3 years now, you know, me and Billy, we've produced almost 500 episodes. And you know, it's been on about the love of comics, the comics that we grew up with, you know, the passion of being an outlaw, of independent creating. And what I love is that there's one common thing that we all have, and that's we love what we love, right? We love what got us into comics that we don't see now. But what's great is, on top of me and Billy doing our shows on crowdfunding books and doing our mainstream interview, you know, creator interviews and stuff, and then doing just kind of our independent comic book stuff, we've got, you know, fine gentlemen like yourselves, part of the team now, that are bringing us back to the roots of why we even got into comics, right? That like ignites it again, because guess what? We can still buy back issues. You know, you may inspire guys to go back out there and you know, I'm going to finish that run. You know, shoot, I haven't bought that comic in X amount of years. I'm going to get back into it. It's going to fire a passion, because we're not talking mainstream comics here. We're talking, you know, and it's in the description, guys and gals out there. You know, the books are mainly focused between 1960 and 1985, and that's primarily where a lot of this focus is going to be. And it's on those mainstream creators that we all looked up to. That did the grind that John is so immensely passionate about. I mean, it's what is being done is you're doing a justice to the comic collecting community and just comic fans. And that's kind of what I felt has been missing in the circle that I've learned on YouTube, because it's a very competitive market here on podcasts.
You know what? You know, it's funny you say that, because it reminds me of like me and Steve when we were talking. But there was one time Roy was talking on the phone to Stan, and I was listening, and Stan was asking him about Black Panther and stuff, and like, what happened here, and did that really happen? And they were talking like we talk, and I just found it so, because they're the Mount Olympus of all this stuff, and I was listening, and I was like, oh my God, that's how we talk. And it was the same thing. They were just talking, like I said, at the top of Mount Olympus. But that's what I loved about Steve, is that we can talk about that stuff, and we respect what each other has to say, but yet we understand, because it meant everything to us. And it goes back to when I heard Roy and Stan talking, and I said, God, it ain't any different than this. And that's why I bring this, and we bring this passion, because it's just like, hell, Stan and Roy have. And it's just like they live that. And they
Nile, I think
to their death.
To segue onto what you're saying, Nile, you know, there is a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of product, a lot of content, and there's a lot of content about speculation, how much money you can make, flipping the value, you know, and me and John are at the mindset of that is totally boring to us. Mm-hmm. You know, if you want to talk about, you know, I have a Marvel Mystery number 23. It's a CGC 4.0. How much did it go up last year? That's a snore fest for me. That's a big, huge snore fest. Yeah. Now, there are plenty of other places podcasts, shows, whatever it is, where people are talking about that type of material. Hey, if you're into that, have fun and go it. But on our show, we are going to get into the weeds. And, you know, we may talk about comics that haven't been talked about in 40 years. A small, ridiculous little comic like Omega the Unknown. No one else is going to talk about something like that. You know, something that's not a movie-based thing. You know, we're talking to the creator. We get in there. And I think what you said, Nile, is incredibly important. If we can inspire someone somewhere to go into their shop or go online and say, oh man, they were really excited about this issue. I want to find that story. I want to do it. I've never bought a back issue that old before, but I'm going to do it now. That to me is the biggest thrill in the world.
And you know, my hope.
Number 2. Oh, sorry. Omega Unknown number 2 fought the Hulk in issue number 2.
Yes, and it crosses over with an issue with Defenders. I know.
Yeah, just throw that in there. Sorry, Niall, go ahead.
And you know, my hopes with everything that we've talked about, you know, on air, off air, is, you know, I want these viewers to actually be the fly. You know, when they get to, you know, when someone says, man, I really wish I was the fly on that wall in that conversation, my hopes is with your guys' knowledge and with your guys' passion, which honestly far surpasses mine or Billy's when it comes to, you know, the comics of that era. You know, I want it where the viewers literally like, holy shit, I was the fly on the wall. Like, I just was part of this conversation that was just incredible. Like, because you're getting into, you're digging into the weeds, right? Not just in books, but you guys are gonna be digging in the weeds with the guys that made them. You know, getting the guys that are still around, logged into this eternal universe that is the internet, and getting it into the library of the vast knowledge of what they did. And as a creator, I hope that inspires more creators to actually have the true passion. Not the I hate saying, not the like agenda passion or anything to just get to make myself famous, like to actually do it because it's something you actually bleed and breathe and want. You know, we need to build that passion up, and it's out there. I just don't see enough of it.
It's funny, like we were just talking about what we were saying is that you look at today on a lot of these historical comic book podcasts that I watch sometimes, and I don't understand how they got like 20, 30,000 followers and they're wrong in their history. Let me just tell you this right now. You come to our podcast, the majority of our guests is not really a guest, like I said, is going to be Roy Thomas, the #1 historian of comic books on planet Earth.
Yeah.
Earth. He's with us. You got questions, you ask that guy. I don't ask this guy who's what, 15, 16, 20 years old, and he thinks he knows everything because he has Flash, Big Bang, and he knows how to do the computer work that Nile knows how to do, and because he gives the like 3D vibe. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We're not going to
Nile,
say his
here
name.
we go. Ready? This is what I think about those. But again, we got the best on Earth.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Boom! You forgot to end it with the boom. But that's great. But everyone out there, so as you are aware that have been watching this, who are watching this live, is the Steve and Cimino Says Boom show is going to be airing on the POPXP. I am also going to be continuing uploading a week after the premiere. It is going to go back into their catalog as well for a time being as we grow the channel together. But in the meantime, these episodes will be migrating over. They may have different, there might be some different art, a few graphic changes and things, but they will be the same unedited episodes that are here. So if you want to start jumping on that bandwagon and getting caught up, I have the link in the description below, and you guys can head on over to Steven Cimino Says Boom podcast and start listening to some of these. As of tomorrow, if you want to wait to help support POPXP and building up their growth on the channel, I am going to start migrating these episodes over starting tomorrow morning. And I'm not going to overwhelm it. I'm probably going to do one in the morning, one in the afternoon for the next few days just to build it up and get it. And it will be in the playlist on the channel. So when you come over to the POPXP, what's going to happen is, as you see, we've got mainstream creators, our crowdfunding, lunch break with Tucci. You'll have their own playlist where you can get to their whole library and catalog of all their podcasts.
Here, here.
Here, here, indeed.
Yes.
Here, here.
And I would like to give credit to Otto from Three Men in the Basement, who basically, took our ideas and he was like, okay, corralled it, used a lot of his own personal time, which is, he's got like 50,000 kids. So,
49.
And I really want to give him credit for helping us. Without Otto, we wouldn't be anywhere without what Otto did, because yes, I am akin to Ulick. I tend to have my little cave and I smack rocks with hammers. So to talk technical stuff with me, the stuff starts dripping out of my ears. It's just some sort of weird thing. So I want to give credit right now to Otto. Thanks, Otto, for getting us here. I'm also very, very excited about this platform to get this more exposure. And I'm really excited to see, your fixed audience that have been watching you guys for a long time coming down and taking a look at some of our episodes, and also being able to be exposed to some future magnificent episodes that we've got coming. I'm very honored to be here on your platform.
Thank you.
Well,
And small world, Otto lives like 20 minutes from me. How crazy is that? I'm we've been Facebook friends, but I didn't put two and two together because he's very active in the local comic book scene here.
Yeah.
And I go message him and it says his city there, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, then I'm talking to him like, dude, we're like 20 minutes apart. I'm gonna try to meet up with him this Saturday. He's got a show going on. If I can, I don't know if I'll have time, but yeah. And I believe, John, like John said, I don't think he's gonna be a stranger. I think you guys, get him.
No, I told Otto I would love to have him back on sometime, because he helped us pull this carriage. He was the mule while we were just on this. We were on like this with barely the wheels were hanging on and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
he did the heavy lifting.
Brian Blevins, Otto is the best, from driving the school bus in Springfield to helping make Boom happen.
Yeah, he was great, and I loved him to death. And like I said, he was always he has his Three Men in the Basement. He had so many other things and all that stuff, but he
also brought a really interesting perspective that both me and John don't have.
Yes.
Yeah.
He loves that early 1990s Image era. He talks about those guys, Todd and Rob.
That's perfect.
And I always would be,
That's perfect. That's perfect. Because here's a little surprise, guys. I'm going to be on with them. I'm going to be the third wheel. I'm going to be the guy running the machine.
Yeah.
So you will see my lovely mug with these gentlemen. I'll let you finish, Steve.
Yeah, but as I said, it's definitely, and it's something that I've noticed recently. I will speak to people of a certain age, maybe guys that are about 20 years younger than me, and they talk and they wax poetic about this product. They're like, oh yeah, I got all the Wildcats issues, I got all those, and I'm like, oh okay. And they're like, and remember Supreme and Brigade, and I'm like, where are you coming from? And then they're like, I read the Spawns, I had a Shadowhawk, and then I like, oh, I was also into Valiant, and then they'll say, I loved Lady Death, I loved, I loved Witchblade, and it's good to see that generation of people venerating, especially like Bill and your era of creators, they're venerating them just as much as me and John venerate the older generation. Because believe you me, I've met people, I had a friend of mine who, when he first met Jim Lee, he was almost in tears. It was a full-grown man. He had like almost tears coming. I was like, what's wrong? He goes, that's Jim Lee. He goes, that's Jim Lee. I was like, wow. So again, it's generations passing on, going on. And right now, there's people out there who are fanatical about that 1990 to 1995 period of comics. To them, that's the be-all and end-all. And I just love to piggyback on their passion. I just love it.
Yeah. Well, it's also a time. I mean, you're looking, like creators like Billy too. A lot of them are hitting the 30th anniversary mark, and Image, obviously, it's 30th anniversary. But something else that is coming up actually is, when the Death of Superman 30th anniversary is coming up.
Oh wow, yes.
Because originally was in started publishing at the end of was it October, November, am I right? The fourth quarter of 1992. So 30 years of that is coming up. So it's a fun time. There's a lot of great shows to create. I'm working on trying to get a panel together for that, and actually bringing, all those guys and gals on that worked on it, and kind of talk about, I want to get Carl Kessel on talking about it. Oh my God, I can't think of people.
You get Jurgens, you get
yeah.
You gotta get Roger Stern.
Brett Breeding, like there's like 7 different people I want to get on to do this, and even like I still want to try to get my image panel as best I can. I know there's like 3 that are willing to come on, and if that's all I can get, and that'll be it. But for me, that was a great time. I was born in '84, so I started off with Batman. Right, I've been a Batman fanatic since I can remember. Actually, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before that. Then Batman came in because I was given a stack with some. I was given a stack of some a couple Ninja Turtles comics, but then my mom was like, "That's not like the cartoon," and she took that away. And then there was a couple Batman comics in there, and then like your typical like old '60s like Casper and all that stuff. But then the late 80s, early 90s, I started getting my Spider-Man books, getting the stuff that McFarlane worked on. Then, obviously the Spawn stuff came through, got that. But Batman Shadow of the Bat was the one that was my first series that I read from start to finish. And I've been really into Batman. I still remember Card Castle when I walked in to get in my next issue from my pool, and I saw She. And I was like, what the heck is that? It doesn't like anything on there. So I got my first exposure to that book, which I still have my copy. Never wanted to read it. I just thought the cover was cool. So it's like mint. It's like prestige. No, I'm joking. But for me, it was crazy. And then you know what? It was a bit different because you had MTV. You had things like you were seeing the people more that created the things. Like you were seeing the faces of the singers. You were seeing stuff. And then what was happening? Yeah. Wizard Magazine came about, and then me and my friends are like, "Oh man, check this article out," and this is a very flashy magazine because it's also there's a buy, you got your price guide, and as you're trading your friend, I can't trade you that comic because it's worth $3.25 or it's worth $12, and they really made it kind of interactive, which is kind of a fun thing too now, because for me back then it was interactive because I knew about Rob Liefeld. I knew about Jim Lee. I knew about all these guys because they were touring. And like we were getting notifications from our local comic shops of where they would be, like when they would be in New York, or if they were coming to Hartford, or, like if they were doing certain things. So it got interactive in a way, which to me, and I'll say this, and it's actually part of our brand, is, we're in the new golden age of comics, which is crowdfunding. And by us doing these shows, we are doing that now. We're completely transparent to the fans. If the fans want to hang out with us, they go on this chat right now. Sometimes we'll put the link up at the top and they can literally come on the screen and hang out. I mean, what better than that complete immersive network for everyone, where you're buying books that are made for you, right? You're buying them direct from the creator that's making them. You get to hang out with that creator 3 times a week if you want to. You know what conventions they're going to be at because you're always there. It's like they become part of your whole creative team.
I want to hang out with Billy.
Become a family. Yeah, man. It's awesome.
Hang out.
And then to get people falling back in love with the comics, because everyone loves to bitch about the new stuff. But how cool is it to talk about those books that got us back into it?
And now
I love it.
That leads into you and our little group here, because this will be the first time. Because if anybody knows when we did our podcast before, we couldn't really go live. With you now, we have that opportunity. And should I let the cat out of the bag and just on here about when the first time we're going to go live?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, June 24th. So anybody knows we're going to go live, and we're going to be with Roy Thomas. I wanted him to be on our show with Roy Thomas. So live in color. You got the king of comics right now, absolutely. And so he'll be on here. So June 24th, it's on a Friday. Next month, we go live for the first time, as Steven Cimino says, boom show. And we'll be with Roy Thomas, and he's got some great stories I want him to talk about, and we'll take questions and all that from the fans. And I'll feel strong because we got Nile in my corner, and I won't press the eject button.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because that's definitely something that, people have mentioned to me about more of,
interactive
fan
type of-
interaction, you know, and that this is definitely going to be something exciting for fans to actually be able to, you know, write in a question for Roy, something that's been niggling their brain for years. They're like, he's here, and they're like, oh, by the way, when I was reading Avengers 56, I noticed on panel 9, you know, Roy will remember. He's very sharp. He knows this stuff, and that's going to be a very dynamic part of this platform. That's going to be very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Very
exciting. It's going to be real fun. And you guys obviously are more than welcome to join anything else we have going on the channel, because we're pretty open. You know, if there's something, or even if we have a guest, someone you want to talk to, and we got them on, I mean, you're more than welcome to pop on with us.
Nile, get me Billy Tucci's autograph.
Oh, you stop.
What do you mean? He taught me how to do it. How do you think these things get signed so fast?
Oh.
No, but yeah, guys, this is going to be awesome. I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun, and really looking forward to getting up. Now, so people know, most of these episodes right now, they're going to be recorded. It's going to be more of a recorded thing, which is also really good for our analytics. That means YouTube will start sharing the channel more as well. And we're going to squeeze in some live shows pending how they want to go that route. And, you know, discussing analytics and everything. As of now, they will be premiering on Wednesdays, but I'm going to talk to the guys with some stuff, and we'll see what can transpire, because I see what you all do behind the scenes, and I know what the traffic's like. I'm like Big Brother.
And thank you all for joining us too, because we know that Brian Polito has a huge launch going on right now.
I know.
And so, you know, it's
But John or Steve, do you have anything else you want to chat about before we take off?
Well, I just want to say how honored I am to be here, to get the exposure after you guys have done 500 episodes.
Almost, yeah, we're like 10.
Yeah, that's a tremendous amount of history and time, and for us to come along, I feel, you know, very special, you know, because obviously, you know, you're not going to invite any Joe Schmo. If we were talking about the different shades of Taco Bell, it's not going to be a good conversation. So yeah, I'm very excited. I can just see huge things, and I really appreciate you guys. And there's going to be some great stuff happening here.
Absolutely.
My feelings exactly. I always thank you very much for having us come, Nile. Thank you, and always with Billy. I love you. Always loved Billy and the Jerry Tucci that always lingers within all of us. And it means a lot, because, you know, we need this, and we need somebody like you guys to help us get to the next. We can dance, but you guys got the lights, the strobe lights, and the stage. And we hope
we've got the poles if you got the moves.
Yeah, we got the moves. So thank you for that. Thank you. It's an honor.
Oh, Billy, Polito's at 53,000 in 50 minutes. It's $1,000 a minute almost.
Crazy. Wow. And that's not even Lady Death. That's
no,
his,
it's not. Is that La Morta?
One of his newer characters. He is just a beast, and he is something for everyone who wants to aspire to be a publisher. Look at what Brian and Fran Polito are doing. Astonishing.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Blevins. You don't have to wait till June. First episode's next week. Live episodes. He might mean the live episode.
Yeah, the live one.
We got once again, we got Tom Defalco and Ron Friends.
Perfect. Oh, it's gonna
so
be great.
now that the cat's out the bag, you'll start seeing this floating around on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and any other social media magnet I can get it on, and get that prep for the first premiere. So, Steve, awesome. Glad we got to chat again. John, this is great. And Billy, my friend, as always.
Yes.
Yep. And then tomorrow night, if you guys want, 9:30 p.m., it's going to be a crowdfunding comics creator power hour. I got Dan Mendoza in the house. I've got William Russell and Alan Russell. It's a Russell night. So I think my name's going to say Nile Russell, and Kara will be Kara Russell. It should be a good time. But head on to that tomorrow night, and we'll see some crowdfunding campaigns.
Oh, and I just want to throw out one thing. This Wednesday coming up, X-Men Legends #1. Roy Thomas, they restarted the series. Roy Thomas is going to be writing the first 2 issues of that, and it takes place between 182 and right before Giant Size X-Men #1, where this is going to be. I would like you guys to go and check that out. Marvel, if you want a good Marvel comic, it's awesome. And another reason, I'm just going to throw this out here right now. one of the head colonels is that Wolverine has to deal with, and there his name is Colonel, who works for Department H, is Colonel Bernardo, and that's my middle name. So I have another character in the comics that's I just had to throw that out there. So
excellent, excellent.
But pick it up, X-Men Legends #1. It's in continuity and it's awesome.
Cool,
Excellent.
cool, awesome.
All right.
All right, everyone. Have yourselves a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30.
Here, here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on POPXP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the POPXP and over on Instagram at the POPXP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.